Our live stream now. So,
Okay.
yep. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the White Sands Self Care Community. I am your host and resource for self care and mindfulness, Laura Cross. And today I have with me a beautiful lady, Dr. José Vandenhoeken. Vandenacker.
Wow. Look at
I, I'm
you.
I'm working on that. Anyway, she is a therapeutic coach and a spiritual teacher, originally from the Netherlands, and is now residing in Australia. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know we were kind of trying to work out with the time change and the time zone differences, but how did you get started in this path of therapeutic coach and spiritual teacher?
Oh my goodness. Oh, how did I get on this path? I think I've always been on it.
Uh,
Yeah, I cannot remember that I wasn't on it, so I must have.
I was just
Uh,
well, because a lot of us we wind up doing this, we doing that. It's not doing what is kind of like our true calling or truly what truly makes us happy. So yeah.
yeah, I think like for me, I knew that, like when I was a teenager, early adolescent, I went to, we have to decide what we're going to do in our lives. And I decided, so I went to a primary school teaching training college in Holland. And so I was there for 2 years. And then I thought, no, I don't want to teach, like be a classroom teacher. I don't want to deliver theory that others are that's being espoused, that the society sort of, the book knowledge, right? I didn't
Right.
pass it on. So I quit, and then I went to the social academy and to become a social worker. And then after the first year, I looked at the fourth year students and I thought, I don't think they can communicate any better than I can. And I thought, I never want to sit behind a desk and sort of like talk with people that way. I mean, I didn't really know what social worker was, but that was my idea of that people could at least communicate and understand what communication is, right?
Mm-hmm.
As in not something like sending messages, like I'm saying something and you're listening, but much more, it's much bigger. Communication is much bigger. It's like a felt experience as well, and non-verbal, not only non-verbal like in terms of body language, but also the felt experience that we have, the exchange of energy that we have in the communication. And so all of that, I was already, that they were just givens for me, and I didn't see any of that reflected in the social academy studies. And so I thought, right, this is not for me either. And so then I went to the Academy for Expression and Communication for 4.5 years in Holland. And that was a unique school, and that really fitted me, even though it was really confronting. But they were very advanced at that time already. The concepts they were maintaining were what's now known in the quantum sciences as the
Mm-hmm.
field. And so, like the quantum field, they weren't talking about the quantum field, but they were talking about the field and the core as the center of who you are. So that's sort of my logo. So this is the core, and then the field is around it, and we connect like socially and vertically, we connect with everything. So, and then the dynamic in between, like the space in between, like the from the core to the field, there's all these energy exchanges. So that we call the skin. So the skin is as big as the skin, like of all forms of consciousness, really.
Right.
So, or of consciousness. So I found I learned a lot there also about group dynamics and how I was going to say black magic, but that's not quite it. How dark, dark, the dark side of us,
Mm-hmm.
or dark energies, also implants, etc., how they impact on us. And they weren't looking at that because they weren't sort of aware of all that stuff. So I became aware of that stuff when I had been living in Australia for a little while, had worked with Aboriginal people in the Aboriginal community, and was working with a Maori wise man, a man of higher degree. And so from him, I learned to understand what the dark energies, if you like, what they
Mm-hmm.
are, and how to, like, I always knew what I feel like, of course. Like, I'd been in a couple of groups that turned out to be a bit cultist, like, again, through dynamics that are all part of the human condition, but that weren't sort of understood. So I learned to understand all of that much more through my work, through my work with my teacher, Dave. And so, yeah, and so since then I did my PhD, and in which I related all my life experiences to cross-cultural dynamics, like the dynamics between people from different cultures, individually and collectively, and I noticed that the dynamics individually and in the macro are all the same, and they're all fractal, they're all part of the field. So I got a better understanding around all that. And then I became an art therapist. And so as an art therapist, I work with people's stuff, so to speak. So, but the knowledge that I have, I also want to convey, and that's more what I'm into now. So in addition to working as an art therapist, transpersonal art therapist, I also am now, like, I've written this book, and yeah, and I'm running courses and workshops and one-on-one training with people to understand more of particularly what Dave taught me, and how that relates to, like, like the quantum sciences. I'm not a quantum scientist, so I won't go into detail, whatever, but yeah, just for people to get I realized on my walk this morning, I thought, well, really, it's all about expanding our viewpoint. And a viewpoint is not just but a viewpoint is expansive, and we can contract our viewpoint and we can expand it. And so it's all about expanding our viewpoint on the physical and the mental universes through educating people about, like, the physical universe is much more than what we think. It's also time and space. So that's also physical. And the mental includes emotions and feelings, energy. Basically, it's mental. And the spiritual is actually nothing, like, it's nothingness. So it's sort of like, and for people so the work that I like to do with people, in particularly in groups, is to have a exploration of our own understanding of what's going on in the field, and that we're all prone to paradigms, for example, like ways of thinking that we are culturally have adopted just because, well, we grow up in a particular culture, and we go to school and we get implanted with ideas and thought forms and etc., belief systems, and all of that's got nothing to, it's all human conditioning. That's what whole society is about. So my work is basically about people recognizing how we are being conditioned, not to make it wrong or right, but to see, like, okay, right, so that's my human condition, and how I condition others, like, it's interactive, of course. And among all that, there's, like I always say, there's two paths that we walk. There's the higher purpose, the path that we all walk, and some way or other we all know where we're going, or we don't know, but we are going somewhere. And it's that it is predestined. Some people say, like, we made that agreement before we came here. So so we have that awareness, and then the awareness here. And then there's obviously the bigger level, the bigger consciousness, where all that is, we're all part of the soup, so to speak. So, yeah.
It's really amazing how it's kind of come back around, because, like you said, you've got time to work with the Aborigines and stuff. And quantum, all that stuff has been, thousands and thousands of years around. Energy, we're all energy. It's just not stuff that we were ever taught, though, in school. Like you said, the book knowledge, it's not what we were taught. But there's more programs out there now. There's more podcasts and stuff out there now. There's more people that are coming out now and are starting to talk more about it. And I believe it's helping people so they don't feel so alone, because there are people that are highly sensitive and are in tune to things that others are not. And a lot of times they don't say anything because they're afraid of being ridiculed or criticized, or they just don't even know what to make of it or what to do with it. So do you wind up working with a lot of people that you find that they come across that when you're working with them, or?
I go there, like particularly in my art therapy, I go there with people a lot when they have issues in their drawings. I like them to express to, for example, just how they're feeling inside, the feelings, not the emotions, but just the sensations, the colors, the shapes of what's going inside of them and around them. And also that around them, and they often can identify that. So they draw, if the environment, for example, is aggressive, then they draw these arrows. So that indicates to me of, we all know what anger feels like, or being oppressed, what that feels like. So then people depict it often like with arrows pointing at them, or like a dark hand hanging above them, or that's when we go into the metaphor. So we are all sensory beings, and it shows in the drawings that people make.
Yeah. That's gotta be, and I've seen that work, like with some people. Some of us just get too much in our head, but kind of overthink things. So I'm not sure how well that works. I'm one of them overthinkers, so I'm not sure how well I would do with art therapy, but I know it works for a lot of people, and I think it's an amazing process.
I always tell people in art therapy, I always tell people, like, just park your brain in the car park, leave it in your car. Just let your hands do the walking.
Oh yeah. Leave it in there. So tell us more about your book, your book that you have.
Oh, the book is oh gosh, yeah. Well, what I talk about here is, shall I just say a little bit about what I cover in here? So a little bit about the field and the core and paradigms, what they are, what implants are, what viewpoints are, that we explore belief systems. So I do the same stuff like when I work with other people. We explore belief systems. They actually are. Protest, which is a big one, like we protest belief systems. We protest, we basically protest everything. That's part of our human conditioning. But what is protest? What's that feel like? And I ask, like in my work, I ask people to make like a representation of what that feels like or looks like, just for people to get a sense of, a felt sense of what protest feels like. And the same like with a belief system, and adding significance and how that relates to self-healing, because we can self-heal, but then we have lots of stuff. So that prevents us from self-healing. And then I talk about communication, and a little bit what I said to you earlier on about communication, what that actually is, and that it's not what it's often portrayed to be.
Right.
And about the sensory self and the sensing self, that the sensory self is the part that not contracts and expands, like you like someone and your sensory self expands, or it retracts or contracts when you don't like someone or something. But the sensing self is never judging. It just senses. It's just aware. So that's the observer part of us, say. Yeah,
Right.
who just senses, energies, different energies. Then I talk about mind stuff, what that is, and the small mind versus the big mind, and time and group mind. So that's that human conditioning in the bigger space, say. And then I talk about the crux of our journey through life, and that it's that we are the center of the cross. Like we all have challenges in our lives, but by running away from them or denying them or doing like positive psychology kind of stuff isn't gonna deal with the stuff that we need to deal with in order to lighten up the dark stuff, so to speak, or make it visible. No, understood, recognized. Right. Yeah. And then I talk about whether people are willing, and I explore a little bit what willingness actually is, and what intention is, and what decision is, and the fact that like Dave called it a triangle, the three interact. And then the final chapter is about the being in relationship, which is what we already are. We are beings in relationships, but because we have mind stuff, we have these filters. And all these different filters are like things like protest and adding significance and having beliefs and a whole range of things, having judgments and criticism and what have you, blames and finger pointing and all that sort of stuff. So
I know
that
there's
blocks.
plenty of us that do that, plenty of that.
I
said, I know there's plenty of people around there that do that. The whole
okay,
finger
yes.
pointing thing. Yeah. So you do workshops and everything. What is like some of your workshops, or what kind of groups, what kind of people do you mostly work with?
I work mostly with people who have some understanding around what consciousness is, or at least inquisitive, have had a bit of a look into it already. Not necessarily people who are way into, like some people are so much, say, I call meditation, for example, a meditation teacher that I'm thinking of, she's so kind of stuck in her paradigm, her way of looking at the world, of Buddhism in this case, that she won't look actually at what an emotion actually is, an emotion like anger. And so it becomes suppressed. And so it becomes difficult to work with people when they're totally focused on, oh, I've got it. I've got my religion. And I'm stuck, and they feel comfortable in that. That's fantastic if they feel comfortable in that and in that space, and they can still benefit, provided that they have like an inquiring mind. Like, oh, okay, I accept this belief system and I feel very comfortable with it. However, how come that I still feel I'm out of relationship in that area, for example, or so I need people to have an inquiring mind and a sense of wanting to move on in life towards a better place, whatever that place feels like or looks like, and get a better understanding of what's stopping them from being in that space.
Right.
Yeah. So yes, does that?
Oh yeah, no, and there's a lot, there's a lot to that, because open mind for for one, I think is always a huge thing, and the willingness to learn and stuff, because otherwise if you're shut off, that it's kind of makes it hard to work with anyone. But yeah, what is the best way for people to connect with you?
They can go to my website called universalheart.com.au. Shall I just see if you can see
Yep.
it?
And we'll put it up in the comments too. So yeah.
Hey?
Yeah, we'll put it in
Sorry?
the comments too, so they can see it.
In the comments.
Yeah, on the Zoom, since we're in the Facebook group, I'll put it in the comics on
Can you
Facebook.
see this?
Oh yes, we can see that. Universal-heart.com.au, because you are in Australia. So do you work with people from all over though, right? Even though you're in Australia, because you work with them through Zoom, not
Yep. Yeah. And they can of course come here as well.
Do you ever host retreats or anything like that?
Yeah, I've got one planned for the end of June.
Wonderful.
Yeah, in a lovely space here in not far from here. So I live in central Queensland, and we have a beautiful beautiful place here. So yeah,
That would be beautiful. Yeah, that's still on my live list. I don't do bucket lists. I have a live list, but that is still on my live list to go down to Australia. I've done a lot of studying and learning about Australia, but yeah, it's got a lot of beautiful features down there. Well, definitely, if you would share in the White Sands Self-Care community group there about your retreat and information, so anyone interested can join you if they like.
Awesome.
And and keep letting us know what you're doing.
Online. Yeah, and like on the website, people can go to, they can have like a free discovery session. So if they go there, I think, if they just click on free discovery session, the tab on my website, click on that, and then they can book a free discovery session and we can have a one-on-one chat.
Yeah. And that's wonderful. Especially that's where calendars come in handy, because you're heading for 8 o'clock in the morning, where we're Central Time. So we're going into evening and you're just getting your day started. So that's always a fun challenge. I want to thank you really for taking the time to share with everybody what you do. Is there any last words that you want to share with them before we go?
Just what comes to mind is for people to have faith that all will be well. All is well already, but all will be well as well.
We always have things pop up that make us challenge that thought, but it always works out.
Yeah.
One way or another. Well, thank you so much for taking the time, and I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend, and we will catch you next week.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.